Fantasy Premier League during international breaks, it's like watching paint dry while simultaneously juggling chainsaws. Sounds impossible, right? Well, that's exactly what millions of managers are trying to do right now.
That's such a perfect analogy. I've seen managers completely lose their minds during these breaks, making wild decisions that wreck their entire season.
The statistics are actually pretty shocking. According to FPL data from last season, managers who made transfers in the first week of international breaks saw an average point hit of minus 8.4 compared to those who waited until the final days.
Well, that certainly puts things in perspective. What do you think drives people to make such rush decisions?
You know, it's fascinating. I was looking at some psychological research on this. There's this concept called action bias, where people feel they need to do something, even when doing nothing is actually the better choice. In FPL terms, that translates to making unnecessary early transfers.
Hmm, that explains why I've seen managers make 3 or 4 transfers right at the start of the break, before we even know how players will fare in their international matches.
Exactly. And here's where it gets really interesting. Last international break, about 42% of managers in the top 10,000 made at least one transfer in the first 3 days. By the end of the break, 23% of those transfers had backfired due to injuries or rotation.
Those numbers are wild. Speaking from experience, I made an early transfer last break for a South American player, and well, let's just say it didn't end well.
The South American schedule is particularly brutal. Did you know that some players face up to 23 hours of total travel time, often playing their last international match just 48 hours before Premier League kickoff?
That's exactly the kind of detail we should be considering instead of chasing team value. Like, what's the point of saving zero point 0.1 million if your player is too exhausted to start?
The team value obsession is fascinating too. I've been tracking the data, and the average price rise during international breaks is actually only zero point 0.3 million total across all players. We're literally risking our teams for pocket change.
So, what you're saying is, we're all basically gambling our season for the equivalent of FPL pennies.
Pretty much. And here's another mind blowing stat. Managers who completely logged off during international breaks last season had an average rank improvement of 150,000 positions over those who made multiple early transfers.
That really makes you think about the value of just stepping away. I've started treating these breaks like a forced vacation from FPL.
The mental health aspect is crucial. A recent survey showed that 68% of active FPL managers reported feeling stressed or anxious during international breaks, mainly due to fear of missing price changes or injury news.
Well, that certainly explains the constant refresh syndrome I see in the FPL community. People checking their phones every 5 minutes for updates.
You know what's really effective? Creating what I call an international break protocol. Based on studying successful managers, the optimal approach is complete disconnection for the first week, followed by careful monitoring of only official team news in the second week.
That sounds like a much healthier approach than what most of us are doing. How do you handle the FOMO, though?
The key is understanding that most of what happens in that first week is noise. Looking at last season's data, only 15% of price changes during international breaks had any significant impact on team value by the end of the season.
Those are some eye-opening numbers that really put things into perspective. Makes you wonder why we get so worked up about it all.
And here's the kicker. The most successful FPL managers, those finishing in the top 1,000, averaged just 1.2 transfers during international breaks. They focused on quality over quantity, waiting for concrete information before making moves.
That's definitely something I'm going to remember for the next break. Sometimes the best action is no action at all.
Looking ahead, we should all challenge ourselves to use these breaks more constructively. The data shows that managers who maintain other hobbies and interests during international breaks actually perform better when the Premier League returns.
Well, on that note, maybe it's time we all took a step back and remembered it's just a game, albeit an incredibly addictive one.
Exactly right. And remember, when the Premier League does return, we'll be making decisions based on actual information rather than international break anxiety. That's when the real fun begins.